everybody, Anne here to talk a little bit about our co-rec specific rules. I know some of these are new for us, so I just wanted to go through it and make sure we were all on the same page. So here's our team. We're playing with 5 people today. You can see we've got 3 girls and 2 boys. The girls are outlined in pink and the boys are in blue. You'll see we have 3 players in the front row. So we've got B1, G1, and G2 in the front, and then 2 players in the back row, G3 and B2. To help us really think about how this rule works, I think it's helpful to imagine a ghost player that goes between the 2 same-gendered players. So you can see this in the gray that says ghost. So now imagine that our team has received the point. B2 is going to rotate out of the serving position and G2 becomes the server. So we've got G2 and B2 in the back row, G1, B1, and B3 in the front. So you can see that on the slide here. Now imagine that our team loses the point and then we get the point back. We need to talk about what happens now. So we see that the ghost player is next in line to serve. This is what's going to happen when our team doesn't have a correctly gendered person to serve. This means we have to take a side out. Additionally, it's important to think about who rotated where. So in this case, the ghost player was really the one who moved to the back row. So G1 on the top right is going to remain in the front row. This means that our rotation stays exactly the same. So our front row players are exactly the same. We still have B1, G1, and G3 in the front. And our back row players are exactly the same with B2 and G2 in the back. Now imagine that the other team sides out, so now we get the point back and we have the serve. Now is when G1 finally moves to the back row to serve. Now that she's come back to serve, she's in the back row. Our rotation is now G1 and G2 in the back row, and B1, B2, and G3 in the front row. So this completes the full rotation between the 2 same-gendered players. Now we just continue in rotation until we get back to the ghost player and repeat it all again. Why is this so important? For a couple of reasons. First, we need to make sure we're enforcing the rule correctly. We should always be making teams take a side out between 2 same-gendered players. It's also really important to discuss to make sure we understand who's in the front row and who's in the back row so that we can correctly enforce those back row specific rules. Think about things like back row attacks or blocking. There's a couple important points to understand who's in the front row and who's in the back. One is that players will always stay in the front row until they are allowed to serve. Another is that teams will always be allowed to have 3 people in the front row. This means that when teams are playing with 5, the server and the player to the server's left are in the back row. When we're playing with only 4, the server is the only player in the back row. So just make sure you always have 3 people in rotation in the front row. So in order to make sure we're all on the same page, I'd like you guys to complete an assignment this week. Typically we do a weekly quiz, but instead this time we're going to just have you send me an email. And you should detail what would happen if a team played with 3 boys and 1 girl. This is due by this Friday, October 3rd at noon. Things you should include are how many ghost players we would use, how many times our team would have to take a side out during 1 complete rotation, how many people would be in the front and the back row, and when these players would rotate from the front row into the back row. Now you can do this in any format you'd like. If you'd prefer to set up a drawing and show me that way, that's fine. If you'd like to do a list, that works. If you're more of an essay format person, that's fine too. Be creative with this and just make sure that you're using this as a learning opportunity for you so that when it comes to your game, you'll be ready to make the call. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this presentation. I really hope it'll help you understand our new co-rec rules. But if you're left with any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Feel free to call, text, or email me, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks, guys!